Good morning, fourth graders. Today we are on page 239 of your student journal. We're on Unit 11, Lesson 3. And our goal or our objective today is, today I will learn about perpendicular and parallel lines. Okay, so the way I say this is perpendicular and parallel lines. So that's going to be our goal today, is that we're going to understand what those words mean, and we're going to understand the symbol or the math notation for them. Okay, so let's look at our vocabulary first. And we see where it says parallel lines. Two lines, both in the same plane, that just means in the same area, that never intersect and are the same distance apart at every point. Okay, we're going to underline never intersect. Okay, so if I look at line FG and line HG, they are parallel. The reason is if they go on forever, if I continue drawing them, and if I was really straight, they're still not going to touch. That is what parallel means. Now, I'm going to use my red pen because you don't need to copy this, but these lines, even though they're not intersecting, they are not parallel because they will eventually touch. So right now, they're far away from each other, but what would happen if I kept drawing them? Watch what's going to happen if they keep being drawn. They intersect. So this is not parallel. Parallel means they will never ever intersect. If they go on forever and ever, they'll never touch. So if you've ever seen like railroad tracks for a train, that's a really good example of parallel lines. The trains, I'm going to draw an arrow down here. The train tracks always stay the exact distance apart. So this line and this line are parallel. And that's because that's how the train system is set up. Sometimes maybe you should look around your house for other parallel lines. If you look at a door, we have this side and this side are parallel. Okay, if you look at windows, you'll see some parallel lines. So in a window, you might see like this, this, and this would all be parallel. I bet you could find a lot of parallel lines if you look around your house. But the key is they will never, ever intersect, which means touch. Okay, the symbol, in this symbol, looks like two lowercase l's, is used to denote parallel lines. Denote means just to show. So this says line FG is parallel to line HJ. And they use that symbol because it's actually two parallel lines. Okay, let's look at our next line that we're going to talk about. Perpendicular lines. Two lines that intersect to form four right angles, which right angles, remember, are 90 degrees. So this says line KL, which is this one, is perpendicular to line MN. So when those two lines touched, they created perfect right angles. And remember, we've been talking about right angles with this Post-it note idea, that I could use a Post-it note and put it right in there and it fits perfect. Those are my right angles, like perfect L's or like sideways L's. So those are perpendicular. Now also, the symbol that creates perpendicular looks like an upside down T. So it's the symbol is used to denote perpendicular lines. Okay, so a good way to remember the two differences is in parallel, you actually have the two L's. You have the symbol for parallel lines. Okay, something that sometimes throws people off with perpendicular, though, I want to show you is And you might not see this year. You might have to wait till 5th grade to see this, but sometimes they'll trick you because the actual symbol itself does not create 4 right angles. It only creates 2. But if this line kept going, would it create them? Yes. Another thing that sometimes throws people off is they might trick you and do something like this. Those 2 aren't even touching or intersecting. But if it was to keep going, would it then create it? So the key about these lines are if they were to keep going. Now, and it's not that they just will intersect. So this and this intersect, but those are not perpendicular because none of those angles that were created are right angles. Okay, so that's our goal today, ladies and gentlemen, is just to really understand those definitions and know what those words mean. And that's really all that we need to focus on. So I'm going to show you my 2 examples, and then we'll do some together. So here is my first problem. And my first problem says, name and define the following using a mathematic notation. So what do I see? I see line AB and line CD, and they want me to say what is going on with those 2 lines. Well, so the symbol for line is this, line AB, and then the symbol for line, so CD, and they want me to put a mathematical notation in there to say, are those 2 lines parallel, which means they'll never touch, or are they perpendicular, that means that they'll create 4 right angles. And those 2 lines are parallel. Okay, let me do my next one. Okay, again, they want me to name and define the following using a mathematical notation. So line, I see line WY and XZ. So I have my mathematical notation for line WY, and line XZ, and they want to know, are those perpendicular or parallel? And they are perpendicular. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's try some together. We're on page 240, and here's our first one. Okay, so we're going to make sure we use our correct symbols. So we have line LM is what to line NO? So are those parallel, which means they'll never touch, or it's perpendicular, which means they'll make right angles? And hopefully we agree they are parallel. Okay, let's look at our next one. So we have line IJ is what to line OP? So are they parallel, which means they'll never touch or intersect? Or are they perpendicular, which means when they intersect, they create right angles? And hopefully you see that they are perpendicular. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, today you only have 2 problems to try on your own on page 241. Have a nice day.